Morning, everyone. All right. Good morning. I'm in a new space, new time, new timeline, all of that good stuff. So I am back on Facebook. So I am going to drop the link here onto the Facebook page real quick. Copy that link so that anybody that's on that side of things is able to access this information. Welcome to Monday morning. We'll get into the full introduction here in just 1 second. All right. Publishing. There we go. Good morning. Let's check in here with the stream. Make sure it's going the way it needs to go. All right. Looks good. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I am so grateful that you're here. It is Monday, January 25th. This is the Daily Medicine Transmission, and it is freezing in my new office. Of course, one office is cold, and so is the next one. I'll be remedying that soon enough. Transition is hard. Being on camera is hard too. Being focused on what you look like, what you sound like, what all the aesthetics are. It's not an easy situation, but here I am, showing up for me, showing up for you, and staying as consistent as possible. Consistency is a really, really important aspect worth paying attention to these days. Pay attention to the consistency of your own guidance and the information that you're getting, and people who are speaking to you. Pay attention to their message. Is it consistent? Does it change when the circumstances change? This is a really important thing to consider. So we're going to get into the transmission here in just a minute. Just want to check in. It's Monday morning. See how everyone's doing. I'm going to take a sip of coffee here. Just give me 1 second. Okay, thanks for bearing with me. I am definitely rough around the edges. I do not feel camera worthy at this moment. Mostly just been spending all weekend moving. So it's still kind of in pieces, and it's an interesting, this whole process of moving into a new place and getting set up and leaving behind the old comfort zones, even though you know that it is an upgrade to where you're going and you're on the path of where you're supposed to be. There is a sense of kind of longing for that comfort zone a little bit when you were kind of settled in and you had your routine and everything was where it was supposed to be, and you didn't have to worry about setting anything up or how cold your office was going to be, or all of the new environmental aspects that go along with changing your location and your situation. There's a longing for the routine and the consistency I just talked about, and the comfort zone. There's a longing for the comfort zone. And I just couldn't help but reflect on that this morning when, in comparison to what life is like right now, and probably will continue to be this way for a hot minute. Well, even though we know that we are headed into this evolved situation, that we are in the middle of this incredible awakening process in real time. And of course, we want things just like when you move into a new place, you want it all set up, you want it perfect, you want everything to be exactly where it's meant to be. And when you haven't even been in this place before, kind of like where we are now, we're in uncharted territory when it comes to humanity. You want everything to be already just immediately where it's supposed to be. And when you're not even in a place, this is the first time you're there, you're learning about this location and you're learning about the structure, you're learning about the infrastructure, right? So you have to give yourself some time to feel it out, learn about the space that you're in, see what kind of adjustments you have to make in order to be comfortable. What is it that you can change? What is it you can't change? What can you live with? What can you not live with? Where are the parameters? So as we move through these times, and I said January is going to fly, and it's already almost over. It's the 25th. We have 5 more days of this month until we move into February. We have a Mercury retrograde on the 30th. This is going to be a really intense retrograde. I mean, they're all kind of a pain in the butt. Of course, we all can identify that to Mercury retrograde. Those of us who were born with Mercury retrograde, we are already capable. We understand this resonance. It is something we are already familiar with. So it's not nearly as, I wouldn't say it's not as uncomfortable, but it can manage the situation a little bit easier for the most part. But I think this retrograde is going to be, it's going to be incredible, specifically because it's in Aquarius, and we'll go retrograde into Aquarius until the end of February. So we have a solid couple weeks of Mercury retrograde leading up to March. And so February is going to be a huge review time. And when we're talking about Aquarius, we are talking about the collective mindset. We're talking about the revolution. We're talking about the future orientation. We're talking about the evolved human being, and the that collective consciousness that really is the essence of all of the things that we have built, right? Capricorn is certainly, oh man, lots of traffic. It's interesting that I went to a much more rural environment to a road that is very traveled. So if there's any residual noise, there's nothing I can do about it at this moment. So yeah, February is going to be quite the review, I would say, especially because we are with that retrograde. So I'll talk more about that in an astrology report that's coming up, okay? I just wanted to give some insight. And tomorrow, the moon is... tomorrow, the nodes are going to square Neptune, and the sun is going to square Uranus, okay? And the moon is in Cancer. So there is certainly the highest level of delusion and illusion imaginable with this Neptune square the nodes, and it's very karmic, where we are kind of obsessed and heading. And then the sun in Aquarius, again, squaring Uranus in Taurus, really challenging, still challenging our ability to trust this cycle, to allow the release of the old patterns. And this transmission today is really strongly showing us that there is so much disappointment. There is so much lack of trust right now, and confusion, so much confusion. And there's a lot of worry, a lot of real concern about the material reality coming forward that is right here in our face. And it's not to say that there's nothing to worry about, but we'll also see that energetically we are in a position to align with the fact that this is our initiation process, what is happening. And I think that, leading up to this point, maybe there have been many of us that thought we already went through the crucible of this. And in fact, we are very much now in the initiation process. And it's not easy. And like I said, the disappointment, the pain of loss, the distrust, the confusion, and the worry that is going to come out of all of this is very real and very palpable, and we should be mindful of that for ourselves and the people around us, that there are very real concerns and real challenges that many people are going to have to face. And it's only at the precipice of disaster that people will find the will to change, and we are going to understand what that means in real time. And the Mercury retrograde is going to be the time that we review what all of this stuff really, what we know and what we think we know about all of this stuff. When we get into the transmission, you'll see that the Five of Discs is Mercury in Taurus. What we know and the worry and the thoughts and the concepts. Whew, there's a lot of big trucks here. Still not sad about getting out of the city, despite that. There's a lot of worry and there's a lot of concern, like I said. And if we can see that we are in the midst of an incredible initiation process, and at the root of all of this is the wishes being fulfilled, I think this is what will help carry us through a really difficult time. And it's not to say there won't be things, we will learn some things about ourselves with this Mercury retrograde and the future we want to be part of, the revolution that we want to engage with, and what that all means to us. It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks, okay? So the moon is in Gemini, moving now, well, actually right now it's already moved into Cancer, and the sun is going to be in a sextile, as you can see here, with Chiron. There's a lot of masks being worn, and that's not necessarily a terrible thing. Certainly authenticity is important, and we want to remain authentic and transparent, but there is a certain amount of sometimes we wear these masks as a form of transpersonal responsibility. People play their roles in order to release the energy or the patterns that have been long held. It's a performance in a lot of ways. And now that the sun is in a sextile to Chiron at this position, we can really heal some of this wounding right now of the self and the subjective experience and this inner wounding that we all are carrying around right now, if we're going to be an empowered victim or if we're going to take responsibility. And a way to really help this along, and with a sextile, right, it requires some sort of participation. I think the best way with this sextile today with the sun is to realize and to maybe accept that as uncomfortable as many people are feeling, and the very real concern that is coming down the pipeline figuratively and, in some ways literally now, about how people, it's already was bad enough all year economically, and for many sectors of the economy, it's going to get a lot worse for people. And so for as much as it is going to be uncomfortable, as much as this time frame is going to potentially trigger a lot of this victim mentality, if we can find the transpersonal responsibility that we all have in this moment, if we can see the roles that we're playing as merely roles and wear the mask and express ourselves through that, I think that there is a lot of potential for healing those wounds and also not acting out of them at the same time, which is going to be really difficult. And so today, with this sextile, I would really recommend and strongly urge you to take advantage of this aspect and this energy today, because once tomorrow hits with the Neptune squaring the nodes, the sun squaring Uranus, again, it's going to be a big challenge that we're going to all face. And with the moon in Cancer now, wow, she's at home in Cancer. She is very much wanting to be with that security blanket emotionally, and it will guide us and will have us feel an urge to find that security blanket emotionally, okay? And we're probably going to need it when tomorrow comes around. The moon is also going to square Chiron as well, but the sun squaring Uranus now direct, and the nodes squaring Neptune, are we going to trust that the table is set and ready for us at the appointed time, right? The square here is that karmic, almost obsession that the nodes represent, the dragon that is headed towards its destiny. Can be really take our attention away from everything else, and can put us on a path of just trying to just trying to consume as much information as possible. So, and also the flip side of that with the South Node is to utilize all that we can to prepare for the future, which is also not bad, but that's not where we're headed. That's the South Node. We've already done that. It's time to start developing new collective beliefs, and that's part of the Gemini energy, is learning how to manage the spectrum of information in order to come to a conclusion later after it's been analyzed. So all right, so let's just get into the transmission. Like I said, kind of rough around the edges. I appreciate everybody sticking around. There's Seth. He's got Schrodinger's cat. Definitely worth considering. If does the cat exist or not? We won't know until we open the box. All potentials exist as long as that box is still closed. So, all right, let's get into we'll get into the transmission today. Here we go. All right, so I'm gonna take another sip of coffee. Sometimes it's like there's just not enough coffee on the planet. Okay. I like muting the microphone so I don't gross everybody out. I love you guys. Whoever shows up today, I really appreciate you being here. We gotta pull in. We gotta hunker down. We gotta really support each other right now, because it's about to get very, very real. Okay, like it hasn't been all year, but the worry and the concern and the distrust is very palpable. And it's come from a place of sorrow and a place of disappointment. It's really going to feed into this worry a lot more. Perhaps if there wasn't so much sense of pain and loss and disappointment coming into the moment, there wouldn't be so much of this real concern and worry and fear of failure and loss. But here we are, and it's all part of this process. Okay, so coming into the moment, as I said, we have the three of swords, the sorrow card, also reversed. So it does suggest that not only are we feeling disappointment, pain, and loss and melancholy, but we're also not really seeing the positive side of it. We're resisting it. We're not seeing the potential respite that comes out of it. We're not learning anything from the situation. It's just a feeling of disappointment and pain and loss. And boy, oh boy, there's been a lot of that in certain circles, hasn't there? People who are just giving up and jumping ship. And that's been happening all year. And for certain reasons, the suicide rate has really gone up. Overdoses and opioid addiction and drug addiction has really been a huge problem, because people are losing hope and they're feeling so much disappointment and pain and loss. Now, not everybody's feeling this. Some people are in a state of where they think everything's going to be fine, that they got what they wanted, and that means that it's all on the up and up. And I'm here to tell you that that Mercury retrograde is going to be a real eye-opener for people, and it's going to be for all of us. But if none of this resonates with you, if none of this disappointment or distrust or worry or anything, it resonates with you and you feel like that it is all good in the hood, this Mercury retrograde is going to knock you down. It's going to be like that for everybody, but it's going to be a real eye-opener about the future we're heading into and what it is that what revolution do we actually want to be part of. So coming into the moment, we have this sorrow, Three of Swords, the disappointment, the pain, the loss. And it's so interesting that the threes are always this, they're always this structural, I don't know how that sounds. Maybe Seth could give me some insight onto the traffic sounds coming through the microphone. I don't know if that's really easy for you since you're hearing the same sounds I am. Anyway, the 3 represents that first creation of something, sound, from the 2. And with the swords, it's always a painful realization, right? The mind is always, the mind is never easy on us. And that's why the swords are such a hard suit to manage, because it's sharp. It's just sharp. It's a tool and it's useful, but it's also can cut right to the bone. And so here we are with this pain and loss and disappointment, but it's not realizations necessarily. It's just people jumping ship and feeling hopeless. Okay. And the current moment is the 6 of Swords. That's Mercury in Aquarius. Okay. We do have Mercury in Aquarius. Science, right? It's also reversed. So there's a lot of distrust of our mental capacity, or too much rationalism. We're not using enough of our intuition. We're not using enough of our gut. We're just using our minds solely and not balancing out with any other aspect of how we make sense of the world. And because of that, we're just engaging with the mental and not using our intuition. And this can also, this too much rationalism can also lead to, again, we're going to see this worry, right? Because we're coming into this moment with all this disappointment and loss and sense of pain. And then coming here with too much rationalism, not enough intuition, not enough trust, right? Just using our minds. And this also can be very distrustful of our mental processes as well. Okay, when the 6 is reversed like this, and the 5 of Swords again is defeat. And so it's just kind of like this giving up, or not using our intuition, or not getting into our intuitive sense, our spiritual sense, listening to our higher guidance. We're just focusing too much on the logic and rationalism, and that is not serving us right now. And I think distrust is also a big element right now, not trusting certainly not trusting mainstream news. That's been shown already. And if you haven't seen the polls yet, I mean, the trust of the mainstream news is down so much. But also distrusting other things, distrusting the plan, distrusting certain sources of information, even distrusting our own intuition. Okay. I've heard that from a lot of people. They're like, I don't know who to trust anymore. I think that's a big part of this as well. I don't know who to trust anymore. Now, what is at the top of our awareness? What is our conscious awareness? Now, this is where energetically we have a lot of empowerment right now. And this, again, is where that sun in a sextile to Chiron today, the masks that we wear, the transpersonal responsibility that comes about with playing a role can really help us not fall into the victim role and be able to actually heal that aspect rather than identify with it. We have the initiation and the Count Saint Germain. This is number 14. This is the initiation, okay? And there are many of us who are actually very aware of this. We see this, we feel this. We're consciously aware of it. And this is really drawing our attention to the fact that we need to be focusing here as well, energetically and in our mind's eye, right? This here. To see, right? This is the Uranus, the collective third eye, okay? Aquarius, this is where that pineal gland is activated. The Aquarians have their pineal glands activated and are using that function, not just their rational mind, but using their third eye to see their inner vision in order to see what's going on and to see the whole picture. So this is much more about our initiation. You can see Count Saint Germain, is here, and the initiates are here facing him. And, this is the violet flame. This is the upper chakras. This is being our divine initiation. So part of this, though, is letting go of low vibe stuff, right? Low vibe relationships, low vibe activities, thought processes. We have to start letting these go. And that's really hard right now when that is like the essence of this reading. If you can see here, the horizontal, it's all sorrow, pain, distrust, worry. We have to let those go. And that's going to be even more challenging because that is the reality that we're all steeped in right now. But this is saying that this is the initiatory process into our higher selves, into the evolution of humanity. And there's only a couple people here. That's the other thing. And if you are part of this process right now, we have to hold this space for when other people get here. Not everybody's getting here at the same time. And we will slip in and out of this awareness too, based on what thoughts and ideas that we continue to entertain. That's why it's so important that we have to let go of the aspects that draw down this vibration, because we are in the midst of this initiation, okay? Now, what's excellent is, as you'll see, the root of things, wishes fulfilled, the 5 of keys. Now, I know that it's really hard right now to see this. Now, in some ways, in your personal life, you may see this really, really clearly. There may be aspects in your personal life that you're like, yes, like I am on the path, like I am having all of my wishes fulfilled, right? And this is at the root of things energetically, that we are going to have all of our needs and desires met in a very material way, okay? Now, it hasn't fully manifested. This is what's under the surface, kind of, coiling up at the base of us, in the base of our spine, in the root chakra area, into that earth star. Again, we have to be focused on that. Wishes fulfilled. This is the essence. And we have to go through this process, right? Only at the precipice of disaster will people have the will to actually change. Okay? And this is where we have our desires and our wishes fulfilled, when we decide to align with them. And this is why it's so important to have this at the root of what's happening right now, okay? Now, like I said, where it's headed here, right? This is the 5 of discs, the worry, Mercury in Taurus. And when it's reversed like this, it's really hard to get out of this, okay? Fear, loss, failure, destruction, there's a hindering, the circumstances are getting worse, there's unpredictable changes, all of that stuff. It's already a difficult card to deal with, because it is all of the things that we're afraid of losing in the material, right? The discs are the material. So there's already the fear and the worry of the loss. But when it's reversed like this, it really indicates that there is, it's really hard for us to get out of that mindset, and that there are worsening conditions on the way, and unpredictable changes as well on the way. So even if it's just in our mind, it doesn't matter. It's still just as palpable and awful. But what I will say is that this is going to increase, as a result of what is unfolding in front of us right now. And like I said, not everybody is aware of this, and not everybody accepts that this is the case. And if that is where you find yourself, that's okay. But Mercury retrograde is going to open your eyes to what is happening, okay? And it will give everybody a chance, like I said, to review. Is this the collective that I want? Is this the revolution that I want to be part of? Is this the highest good, right? And we're going to go back through that, all that Aquarius energy and Mercury, and decide, can we trust this information? Can we trust this rationality? Can we trust this science? I mean, Mercury in Aquarius, the 6 of Swords, is science. But before we can get there, we are going to have some real struggle about our material resources, okay? And if you see that the root of this reading is wishes fulfilled, material resources, this is where energetically we really need to anchor ourselves, okay? And also be consciously aware of that we are in a divine initiation right now, and that we have to let go of things that are pulling us back down, and it's going to get more dense and more dense, as you can see, okay? And tomorrow is going to, like I said, with those 2 squares, it's going to be a big challenge, okay? Big challenge. This Sun sextile Chiron today is a beautiful gift. if we can take it. So when it comes to the initiation in the Count Saint Germain, there's a couple really good guides here. Number one, the Eight of Forces, the lightning bolt. So that in itself is that Uranian crisis, right? That quick change. So when it's reversed like this, it indicates that we are in a time of exceptional dynamic force and energy, and that the storm is dispersing. And it's time to set new roots, seek new ground, seek a new life, and not get caught up in what we see in front of us, which is all of this sorrow, this pain, this disappointment, this confusion, and this worry. This is very palpable. It's very much right here, okay? This is saying that the storm is dispersing. We've already had the real lightning bolt that has triggered this transformation, and it's time to set down new roots, right? It's time to seek new ground. It's time to start growing something new. And along with that, with the goose, this is a time to rest and recuperate rather than to continue to strive. Oh, that's interesting. So wouldn't it be much more advantageous and a better use of our energy in terms of this initiation process if we maybe not continue to bang the drum of our confusion and our worry, our disappointment, and start to take care of ourselves, start to recuperate a little bit, and also realize that it's time to set new ground. You know, we can't keep waiting. If you're waiting for anybody to come along and save you, I mean, there's a difference between advocating and backing individuals who are advocating and backing us. That is a mutually beneficial relationship, and we shouldn't stop doing that. But this is about the fact that we are still in this initiation process. That's very clear that what's happening is part of the awakening process, and what we can individually do right now in order to expedite that or to align with it further is to rest and recuperate, take care of ourselves, and realize that there is an incredible amount of energy, and we can use that energy. We can direct it towards something new and growth, right? Because the lightning storm has split that tree down the middle and destroyed it, but in the process, it also is allowing for fresh soil in which new growth can come about. So when it comes to the Five of Keys, again, if you really are having a hard time getting into this zone, number one, the chimpanzee says use your intuition and your intellect. Oh, that's interesting, to solve the problems or get answers to questions, right? Use your intuition. What does your gut tell you, right? Quiet the mind, because it is just rolling around here and hopeless, or you're constantly looking for confirmation in some form or another. And we have to be able to balance that intellect with our intuition, that calm voice that is under all of that other stuff that lets you know what's going on, gives you support, never strokes your ego, higher self. This is how I explain it to my clients. It is calm, it is loving, it never strokes your ego, it never tries to attack you. That is the worry, right? That is the worry and the confusion. But this is saying use your mind. You don't want to completely give up your rationality and your logic. It's important, but also use your intuition. Use both of these at the same time. This is where we're the most powerful. And along with that, the War of the Roses, Six of Roses. This is also reversed. And it's important to see the situation for what it is, right? We've been in love with an illusion. And we have to be honest with ourselves now and free ourselves from the struggle. Clear the battlefield. Again, this is about clearing space for something new to grow. And if we are, again, clear the battlefield. It is not about this black and white. I mean, it is to a certain extent. But we have to focus on these aspects within us, right? And using our intellect and our intuition to have a clear picture of what's happening. Now, we can't do that if we're focused on the battle emotionally. And this is saying that it's important to see the situation for what it really is, which is that when we are divided, we're weak, right? They want us divided. They want us to be fighting each other. Believe me, who stands to benefit the most with something like this, where two factions of the same group are squaring off against each other? Who benefits? Who benefits? Not us. Certainly not us. When we're fighting each other, or we're fighting ourselves in our own mind, right? This is saying it's time to walk away from the battlefield. Clear the battlefield. You're free. We're free from the struggle, right? We are free from this struggle, so we have to actually walk away from it now. And if we can do that and not continue to engage in these battles using our intuition and our intellect at the same time, then we can really anchor into this energy of abundance, which is what the Five of Keys really represents. The wish is fulfilled. Abundance in the material world. And that can mean money, of course, but that means having everything in the material world that you need, that's going to help have you, gain a sense of fulfillment. But we have to let go of this illusionary battle that has been projected onto us in order to keep us distracted and to keep us fighting with each other. Now, that doesn't mean you should back down from your convictions. That doesn't mean that you should stop being authentic about what your truth is. No, don't do that. But that doesn't mean that you still engage in the battle with your own fellow humans, right? Everybody's going to have to come to this on their own. And we can still speak truth. We can still speak our truth, be authentic and transparent. We can still use our intuition and our intellect to know what's going on and the truth without actually being in a battle. And this battle has drained us, and it has done more to damage this process than anything else. And they want us divided. Who stands to benefit with us divided? Just ask yourself that question. And again, use your intellect and your intuition both to come to a conclusion about that. But there's a dynamic energy right now, and we are in the process of an incredible initiation. And so don't lose hope. And it's going to be all around you. And I'm telling you, tomorrow with these squares with Uranus and the Sun and the nodes and Neptune, it is going to be really challenging. And I'll be here tomorrow to give you the transmission for how we can move through this time. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves. Give yourself some time to rest and recuperate. Again, screen time. Limit your screen time. Go outside. Do something that has nothing to do with those things. Not saying you shouldn't check in. Of course you should check in. And if your role in this life right now is to be on the front lines of the truth, then keep doing what you're doing. Just know that there is a lot of disappointment and confusion, right? And worry, very real worry, as there should be, because there has been a huge violation of trust. And that Mercury in Aquarius, that Six of Swords reversed, is really at the heart of it. And like I said, we're going to have a full moon on the 28th. And then Mercury's going to go retrograde, and we're going to see that's going to be very eye-opening, very, very eye-opening, okay? And in the meantime, just know why we're here and stay rooted in that, okay? I love you guys. Everything you need is in the description box below. Please feel free to check out the website. Sign up for the mailing list and book a reading if you're interested. And I'm on Telegram right now, and I'm back on Facebook. So you can always go to Facebook as well and catch up there. And please like and subscribe this video. That really helps the channel, helps get the information out there, helps the community grow, and so we can support each other. I really appreciate it. So I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.